made in collaboration with the Romanian History Channel and the University of Cluj-Napoca.
The recent events in our world have highlighted the weaknesses of almost all nations. From London to Isfahan, from Sacramento to Kyoto, the Crimean and Turkish crises have left their scars, rising tensions and bringing about long-due changes in the trajectory of many countries' futures. However, when looking at the current world order, one would be naive to believe that the processes unfolding before us are a product of only recent happenings. Indeed, the history of Magna Terra goes back far and, through the ages, a number of conflicts have shaped the world as we know it. In this documentary, we seek to explore two very important events, the Israeli-Syrian conflict and the Cold War, as it has come to be known. Concisely, we will discuss the Israeli-Syrian diplomatic crisis, as well as its mostly unimportant effects on its two protagonists and the World Alliance of Nations, Jeddah Accords Cold War. We will start by covering the Israeli-Syrian conflict. The conflict was a series of threats made by Israel or Syria to the other of the two nations. Due to the powerful backers of both factions and their individual capabilities, most people expected a war to soon break out when the tensions started rising. However, how did they rise? How did this crisis come to be? In order to analyze the Israeli-Syrian tensions, we must first analyze the State of Israel. Founded at a now unknown date by Ayakperson, the current Diakenid emperor, Israel was a large state for the time, having a population as high as 7 by Romanian records, though this is, of course, difficult to confirm. In our world's ancient period, they possessed a great military and economic might, comparable to that of the Kushites in their apex. Moreover, current sources reveal an in-depth administrative system and, while not at the scale of today's Persia, the Jewish religion also seemingly played a big part in Israelite society. However, this nation's dominance in the Levantine region was disputed by the foundation of the state of Syria, led by Bashar al-Assad. The Syrian country had strong ties to the Prussian state in Europe, which was itself allied to the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth, one of the hegemons of the time. Standing in stark contrast to the policies of internal development mostly supported by the Kushites and the Israelites, the Polish-Lithuanians' biggest interest was external expansion and, quote-unquote, making Poland great. Syria was closely aligned with Prussia, raising questions as to whether the country was truly independent or not. While, undoubtedly, Syria acted very independently during the crisis, it always retained its diplomatic and political proximity to Prussia. Moreover, the later proclamation of the, quote, Prussia-Syria-Cuba Union, end quote, is the main source of confusion. However, this is a topic for another time. On the 27th of February, 2023, the tensions between the two countries, which already existed due to conflicts over the Gaza and Golan Heights regions, was greatly increased by a Syrian ultimatum to Israel, demanding the surrender of said territories. Zifos, then the leader of the Romanian National Salvation Government, attempted to calm the tensions from before the ultimatum by, in the backdrop of a debate between the leaders of the two nations, proposing the demilitarization of the border between the two nations. This was, of course, refused. The Romanians quickly sided with the Israelites, believing that supporting Syria would only strengthen Prussia and the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth, which only reluctantly agreed to withdraw from the Romanian region of Moldova not long ago. The Polish-Lithuanians, wishing to support their Syrian-Prussian allies, pledged to help Syria in case of an actual war breaking out. The Romans, despite initially siding with the Syrians due to the friendship of the leaders of the two nations, later declared their neutrality. The Turkish Socialist Republic, whose government later migrated to Japan, alongside the Democratic People's Republic of Korea, both condemned the war as a war between expansionists and imperialists. Switzerland announced its support for Israel but quickly became neutral too, for which reason they could be considered neutral from the beginning. The country of Oakhania, which was situated in the Balkans and Hungary, declared its neutrality from the start. While the conflict greatly rose tensions throughout the world, due to the unbroken global peace which existed up until that point, it failed to result in anything. Following it, Syria became inactive and Israel declined in power and international relevance due to the rise of other nations such as Rome and Romania or even the Sultan Empire. Moreover, by the coming of the Dark Ages, Israel had already lost over 85% of its population, with it fleeing predominantly to the SPQR or to Persia. Now, let us cover the Cold War. Perhaps ironically, the most important effect of the Israeli-Syrian conflict was not felt by its protagonists, but by the Polish-Lithuanians, whose continuing aggressive foreign policy scared and angered many. To stand against this threat, the Romans and Romanians, later alongside the Khivans, formed the Latin Pact, a short-lived alliance meant to defend its member states against any foreign aggression. However, it was not to last, as with the formation of the World Alliance of Nations, abbreviated as WAON and initially named the MBA, founded on the 27th of February, 2023, the threat of Poland, Lithuania, Prussia, and the Seltin Empire became a global one. To combat this, the Jeddah Accords, abbreviated as the JA, was formed. It consisted of many powerful states, including the SPQR, Romania, the Kushite Empire, and Israel. Almost instantly after the JA's foundation, the WAON and the aforementioned faction were embroiled in a diplomatic conflict. This culminated in a Cold War of sorts, in which all participating factions readied for a true confrontation as soon as the server would open. As the world wars silently preparing for conflict, with there being insults thrown at both alliances every day, the leader of the Seltin Empire, Sulti, reached out to the leaders of JA nations. He wished for a preliminary treaty to be signed in order to stop the conflict, treaty which was indeed signed on the 9th of February, 2023. The conflict's effects were great, as it practically alone led to the inactivity of all WAON members. Due to it ending so suddenly, other nations, such as Israel, also disbanded when things stopped happening on the server, and the Cold War's conclusion was the direct entrance into the dark ages of Magna Terra.
We thank you for listening to this documentary and would like to thank our collaborators for contributing to it. Remember, Veritas vos liberabit, the truth will set you free.